We bid you welcome. We do not ask what you believe or expect you to think a certain way, but only that you try to live a kindly, helpful life with the dignity proper to a human being. Welcome all who believe that religion is wider than any sect and deeper than any set of opinions. Welcome all who might find in our friendship strength and encouragement for daily living.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds to change a life from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same.
Please recite with me our shared affirmation of mission. This fellowship is a welcoming, diverse, and nurturing beloved community that promotes progressive religious thought and practice to create a more loving, just, and sustainable world.
You got to do when the Spirit says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do. Oh Lord, you got to do when the Spirit says do. 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 You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you got to sing. Oh Lord, you got to sing when the Spirit says sing. 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 You got to dance when the Spirit says dance. You got to dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you got to dance. Oh Lord, you got to dance when the Spirit says dance. 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 You got to shout when the Spirit says shout. You got to shout when the Spirit says shout. When the Spirit says shout, you gotta shout. Oh Lord, you gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. 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 You got to do when the Spirit says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do. Oh Lord, you got to do when the Spirit says do. 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 Spirit says do.
We call this light before us in hope that we may always remain a strong community. May we know we are loved. May we share the love we have, and may we be the love we wish to see.
Greetings and blessings, everyone. I welcome you in the name of the ancestors. upon whose shoulders I stand, and I walk on you in the name of all, and I do mean all that is sacred and holy for you. It is indeed a pleasure and an honor for me to share this space with you at this time. Today's sermon is entitled One Day Later, so named after the Frederick Douglass reference to the American celebration of the 4th of July, our Independence Day. And so it was on July 5th, 1852, in Rochester, New York, that Frederick Douglass gave one of his most famous speeches, The Meaning of July 4th for the Negro. He was addressing the Rochester Ladies Anti-Slavery Society, and he chose to deliver the speech not on July 4th, as requested, but to deliver the speech one day later, in full recognition of the reality of African American life and the meaning that day has for African Americans even today. Beyond the booze and the barbecue, we have yet to fully celebrate Independence Day, or at least that is how Mr. Douglass saw it in 1852. Or is it fair to say that was still true in 1952, or 1865, or 1965, or dare I say 2021? So I apologize if I get my centuries mixed up. 1865, 1965. You see, I sometimes suffer from what I call racial Groundhog Day. For this history to me continues popping up like a gopher out of a hole, repeating itself, regurgitating the meaning of one day later. In the context and the construct of today's time of tumult, time of racial reckoning and reconciliation. In order to form a more perfect union. That is not a statement of the framers' achievement. It is a directive. It is an entreaty. Our founders knew they were flawed by time and circumstance and beg us through history to shape a still flawed nation into a more perfect union. Those are the words of one Christopher Fox Graham, managing editor of the Cottonwood Journal, date June 30, 2021. So this is why today's Black Lives Matter movement and supporters and our white allies are calling for an end to the road that our country has been traveling down and down and down for a long time. Yeah, this real, actual history, it puts Law and Order and NCIS, I love those mystery shows, those whodunits, Sherlock Holmes, James Patterson, Walter Mosley. It puts them all to shame, this true life drama of murder and of hope in plain sight. Oh, what a detective story this is. And as they say, based upon a true story. Why do you not want to read or hear about this story? To teach about it in our schools. See, our journey is arguably one of the most resilient of the hero's journeys ever written. And this one is played out on American soil. This peculiar institution of American slavery was like no other slavery in human history. Remember, Moses was a slave. So was Spartacus. But this one was unique. You could not win your way out, no matter what kind of miracles you performed. Imagine what it was like to be an orphan among thousands and thousands of other orphans for generations. Human beings who actually knew who their mother was, but had their mother and or their father or both taken from them, or they themselves snatched from their parents at a moment's notice or with no notice at all. Not at all, man, not at all. Their feelings didn't matter. They did not matter. After all, they were not people. They were property. Frederick Douglass, a former slave himself, so describes. There were no beds given to the slaves, unless one coarse blanket be considered such, and none but the men and the women have these. This, however, is not considered a very genuine privation. They find less difficulty from the want of beds than from the want of time to sleep. For when the day's work in the field is done, the most of them having their washing, their mending and cooking still to do, and having few or none of the ordinary facilities for doing either of these. Very many of their sleeping hours are consumed in preparing for the field the coming day. And when this is done, old and young, male and female, married and single, drop down side by side on one common bed, the damp floor, each covering himself or herself with their miserable blankets. And here they sleep till they are summoned to the field by the driver's horn.
Oh, freedom. Whoa, freedom. Whoa, freedom over me. And
Fellow citizens, pardon me. Allow me to ask, why am I called upon to speak here today? What have I, or those I represent, to do with your national independence? Are the great principles of political freedom and of natural justice embodied in that Declaration of Independence extended to us? And am I therefore called upon to bring our humble offering to the national altar and to confess the benefits and express devout gratitude for the blessings resulting from our independence to us? I am not included within the pale of this glorious anniversary. Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us. The blessings in which you this day rejoice are not enjoyed in common. The rich inheritance of justice, liberty, prosperity, and independence bequeathed by your fathers is shared by you, not by me. The sunlight that brought life and healing to you has brought stripes and death to me. This 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice. I must mourn. To drag a man in fetters into the grand illuminated temple of liberty and call upon him to join you in joyous anthems where inhuman mockery and sacrilegious irony. Do you mean, citizens, to mock me by asking me to speak today? What to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all other days of the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is a constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham. Your boasted liberty an unholy license. Your national greatness, swelling vanity. Your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless. Your denunciation of tyrants, brass-fronted impudence. Your shouts of liberty and equality, hollow mockery. Your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgivings, with all your religious parade and solemnity, are to him mere bombast, fraud, deception, impiety, and hypocrisy. A thin veil to cover up crimes that would disgrace a nation of savages. There is not a nation of the earth guilty of practices more shocking and bloody than are the people of these United States at this very hour. At a time like this, scorching irony, not convincing argument is needed. Oh, had I the ability and could reach the nation's ear, I would today pour forth a stream, a fiery stream of biting ridicule, blasting reproach, withering sarcasm, and stern rebuke. For it is not light that is needed, but fire. It is not the gentle shower, but thunder. We need the storm, the whirlwind, the earthquake. The feeling of the nation must be quickened. The conscience of the nation must be roused. The propriety of the nation must be startled. The hypocrisy of the nation must be exposed. And the crimes against God and man must be proclaimed and denounced. So spoke Mr. Douglas. Do the words of Mr. Douglas resonate to this very day as it did in 1852, or in 1952, or dare I say 2021? Well, at the end of the Civil War in 1865, or 1965, oh no, that was the Civil Rights Act, or the passage of the 13th Amendment, abolishing chattel slavery from the United States in 1865. The 14th, guaranteeing equal protection under the law in 1868. That was Martin Luther King marching. Was that 1968? Oh, that groundhog, I see his head again. Or the 15th Amendment, guaranteeing the right to vote, quote, shall not be denied on account of race. That was in February of 1869. Sound familiar? Voter suppression, fraud, voter fraud, voter integrity. I see that racial groundhog poking its head, its ugly head up again. You know, 3 states refused to pass the 13th Amendment, abolishing slavery: Delaware, Kentucky, and Mississippi, my birthplace. Our Constitution, by the way, never mentioned slavery at all. Shh. From 1619 to 1787, shh. Not one word in the Constitution. Well, in 1969, our UUA offered a possible solution. The UUA referred to the issue and they offered the following solution and titled it Reparations Investments. So said Dr. Homer Jack, director of the Division of Social Responsibility of the UUA. He called for reparations investments. I say his is a call to the consciousness of our nation, to the morals of our citizens. It is an opportunity for all of good faith to engage in this long overdue national conversation and action. Yes, his call echoes my support for African American reparations, restorative justice for the African American community. 40 acres and a mule for 40,000 freed slaves, experts say, amounts to some $640 billion in today's money. The failure of our government to honor that obligation has had long-term financial implications. You know the numbers. Those implications are still with us. And I believe that is the crux of the matter right now, today. By the way, Delaware did finally ratify the 13th Amendment, outlawing chattel slavery. They did so in 1901. Kentucky did it in 1976. and it took Mississippi until 2013. By the way, which state had the most slaves? Try where Ambassador Douglas gave his aforementioned speech. Yes, it was New York. His words, allow me to repeat them again. The feeling of the nation must be quickened. The conscience of the nation must be roused. The propriety of the nation must be startled. The hypocrisy of the nation must be exposed. And the crimes against God and man, and may I add woman, and those of all genders must be proclaimed and denounced. So everyone, I offer that we must remember, we must recognize as a country, as a society, and as a faith, we must own all of our history, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. This is the only path to the beloved community, to true reconciliation and healing for all of us. Please let us not be one day late. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. Ashe.
Lift every voice and sing till earth heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies resound the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. March on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn has died. Yet with a steady beat, have not our weary feet come to the place from which our fathers died. We have come over a way that with tears have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughter, out from the gloomy past till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of my star is cast. from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk of the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand. True to our God, true to our God, true to our native land, true to our native land.
I sat like many others watching the funeral of John Lewis on July 30th. The message that was his life's work was meaningful and uplifting. His personal story was very inspiring, and it got me thinking about what makes a person one sort of a person and not another. How do people choose, sometimes at an early age, that they will be a force for good? Are they born with a stronger moral compass? Or are they quiet enough to listen to it more often? Is their upbringing such that a grandmother, a teacher, or an old sage who lives nearby shows them a path that moves them to honorable actions all their lives? And what pushes one to live the life of a good person, never giving in to hate or petty revenge? As I listened to the history of John Lewis and to the eulogies, I was struck by one thing above all. This was a man who truly loved his fellow man. This was a man who understood that injustice against one is injustice against all. And he dedicated his life, unafraid of personal harm, to leave the world a more humane place. He dedicated his entire life to make things better whenever and wherever he could. The path he chose, the mentors he followed, were people who showed him one way and not another to reach the goal without destroying his own moral compass. This is the path of peace. Peaceful resistance allowed Mahatma Gandhi to maintain the moral high ground as India threw off the mantle of British imperialism. Peace allowed Nelson Mandela to shine a light on the injustices in South Africa. So too, in the middle of the Black Lives Matter movement in America, John Lewis has told us to do our part to fight racial discrimination, but to do it with love, with humility, and with kindness. One of the lessons I took away from the service was the need to pay it forward. I have always loved this simple act of kindness that all of us can do. Many instances are available to us daily to do simple acts of kindness for one another. We just need to grasp those moments. Civic participation is necessary for a democracy to function well, to be truly representative of the whole country. Each of us has a role to play to make sure that our vote is counted, our needs listened to, and our communities made safe and livable for all. John Lewis said, "Be truthful to a fault. Then your friends will know that they can rely on you. Have friends who can count on you, but also let your adversaries know that you mean what you say. Above all, be kind. I think this means the most in every situation. Just be kind, spread love and truth, and work for just causes. What better way to live your life?"
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We can feed our every need. Every need. We can feed our every need. Every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, our world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. A new way, a new way, a new
We extinguish the chalice here that it might glow gently in our hearts. May it light your path as you leave this space. May it guide your way until we are together again.
Be true, be well, be loving. We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concerns, our care for each other. Our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith continues. Until we are together again, friends, be strong, be well, be true, be loving.